Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of Maximum Growth Live. It is Tuesday, and we are here, and I am still in the cold, and it looks like my friend Seth Price of Blue Shark Digital, your SEO for law firms and managing partner of Price Benowitz, is somewhere on the highways and byways of the United States. Where are you, Seth? What's going on?
I think we sort of look at this trip as witness protection. Nobody really knows where we are, what we're up to. We don't know our neighbors. We got nothing.
Okay, well, make sure you stop at south of the border on your way back up. Get yourself some fireworks and some off-brand candy.
I really wanted to, and we passed it on the way down. It looks sad and decrepit. Not that it wasn't 20 years ago, but it really looks bad now.
It's bad. I stopped there about 2 years ago on my way to South Carolina, and it was a shell of its former self. I mean, they don't even have name brand soda in the vending machines. It is bad. But it sounds to me like you're coming back north after the ice storm and everything to sort of get yourself situated to knock out the rest of 2021. Is that your plan?
Yeah, we'll be heading back in March. It's been a good experience. I mean, the idea, we talk about getting to focus on your business. I mean, look, DC is shut down. There's not a lot going on. The lawyers are going to courts when needed, but the office situation downtown, Blue Shark completely virtual until COVID's over. Law firm on staff. So it's allowed me to sort of sit and focus, which I've really enjoyed. Made some, sort of strategic moves within the firm, which hopefully pay dividends throughout 2021.
Yeah, we're actually in the process today. We hired 2 new attorneys. They started this morning. They're going through their training, which is all systemized now, which is something that we've been able to put into place during coronavirus times. And it's really sort of interesting to me that the firms that are going to make strides coming out of this are the ones who really sort of use this time not to panic, but to really execute their fundamentals and get themselves set up for success in the future. And there's still time to do that. We're not back to 100%. We're not back to where things used to be, so to speak. And I think that's something that, if you're listening, if you're watching, there still is time for you to sort of execute and lay those fundamentals for great success in the future. But other than that, Seth, I know you're on the road. I don't necessarily want to take up too much of your time because I don't want to cause an accident there saying something scandalous. Your wife might decide to throw you off on the side of the road if we talk too much business in her presence. I'm sure my wife would do the same. But what I'd like to do is actually throw to a pre-recorded episode that we did. It's actually one of our highest rated episodes. It's our software hacks episode where we went over a whole bunch of things. And like I said, these are about the fundamentals. So it's some software that you can use to set yourself up now for success through the rest of the year. So if you're okay with that, I'll say goodbye to you now. And then we'll play this episode for people and we'll see them live on Thursday as we start our journey into the virtual assistant and offshoring your help programs that we have coming up. Sound good?
Sounds awesome.
Awesome. All right, Seth, enjoy the ride. Enjoy the sun while you still have it. And folks, stay tuned. Right after our sponsors, you'll see our Software Hacks episode. We'll be right back with more Maximum Growth Live.
In this world today, if you want to grow your business, you want to grow your firm, you want to take on more cases and make a bigger impact, you have to have a digital blueprint. Statistically, throughout the time that we've been working with Blue Shark Digital, our law firm, the Atlanta Divorce Law Group, grew over 1,400%. They truly understand where we're headed and how we want to get there. I have a team in Blue Shark Digital that I feel like has my back.
Hi, I'm Jay Ruane, one of the founders of FirmFlex and a practicing attorney for over 20 years. Anyone who knows me knows how my firm runs on the systems we create, and it has allowed us to flourish, even in tough times. I spent years and hundreds of thousands of dollars until I finally figured out a way to engage my audience and drive top-of-mind awareness with social media. And what did I do once I figured it all out? I built a system for it, and now you can put that system to work for you. You see, we took the hard part, creating the content and finding the images, and made it foolproof. Every day you will have curated social media topics to post designed to make your firm constantly remind your audience about your firm, what you do, and how you can help. And the best part? You don't even need to hire a dedicated social media person to do this for you. In fact, you don't even need to hire anyone new. We designed the system to make it easy for you to delegate to your receptionist, assistant, or paralegal and have them execute solid social media for you in just 5 minutes a day. It's like having a content writer, researcher, and graphics designer at a fraction of the price it would cost to hire in-house. Sign up today for the Social Super System and start building your brand where your clients already are, on social media. They're not necessarily lesser hacks, right? It's just, it sort of all fell into the same vein of software that we use to help our practices grow. And so I've got a couple that I use regularly. In fact, I was using one today in connection with some email marketing. But first, I want to talk a little bit about something that I think a lot of people need to do, and you've got a lot of experience in helping people with it, and that is building out your directories. And there's a lot of different software applications that you can use for it. So maybe we could walk through that stuff.
And let's back up for a second. Why do you care, right? I mean, there are a lot of people here like, of course, that's what I got to do it. But when we talk about SEO, right, you have content, you have links. When we talk about local, the citation, the name, address, and phone number, the NAP, that's the currency. And there are a lot of different ways to populate the world, the digital world, with your name, address, and phone number, so that when Google is determining where you rank in, or if you do rank at all in the 3-pack, that you have authority in local. So these directories, which are, back in the day when I started, I just literally sat down and would Google legal directories, find it, and would add our name, address, and phone number. If they allowed for a link, God bless. That was the sort of the process I went through myself. And even when I started the law firm and the early days of Blue Shark, we had a team that did this all by hand. And I was like, hey, you want to do anything right, you do it yourself. But what happened is exponentially, it took on a greater and greater time suck. And that's where it comes down to software, Jay. And that's sort of the conversation today. And my hack is discussing not just one, but 4 different primary options that you have for populating the directories with your name, address, and phone number, which you want to keep consistent to be able to signal to Google, hey, we are not just a good SEO option for the algorithm, but we're a good local SEO option for the 3-pack, the map pack.
Yeah, because local really is everything now. All the local signals really matter. It's tough to have a huge geographic presence, so your local listings really have to be solid. So let's start off, and it would probably be best if we take it basically from beginning with training wheels all the way through your experience. You've got team members, that type of thing. So what's the what's the easiest way to get on?
Right, the entry point. If you got the least amount of money and you say, I got to do something, because I think that even if you're a B2B player, making sure that your name, address, and phone number comes up can make the difference of being found or not found. Moz. Moz has a tool for local. It is cheap. It basically gets you to a ton of directories. There are 3 main aggregators. It helps feed you to those and is sort of the entry point. If you do nothing else, pay Moz around $100 and basically upload your data across the web. It's not set it and forget it, but it's about as close as most things are in life.
Okay, so Moz is one, and I think it's like $100 a year or something like that, right?
Correct. It's cheap.
It's cheap because it's also there's no manual actions. It's literally just a computer algorithm spitting out directory listings to all of the input variables that these directories want.
There are 3 main aggregators, and that's what you're paying for.
Gotcha.
So the fact that you're getting to those 3 main aggregators, that is like a huge. When you do that, that's 80%. That's why if you do nothing else but this, if your competitors aren't doing anything, if you're in a rural spot or a B2B person, this can be a game changer. Similarly, Yext, a little more expensive, but that's the next level. Also 3 aggregators, and then a whole bunch of other directories. Moz just does a few extra directories beyond the 3 main aggregators that then send out all over the web, but Moz does another, several dozen directories beyond the 3 aggregators that send out to quite a few places.
Okay, so Seth, let me ask you this question then. Why can't I just find those 3 aggregators and upload my own stuff into them?
In theory, if you wanted to take the time, you could. It's some places, some things you can do, some things you can't do. To me, this is a no-brainer. Like, especially if that's your only job. That's why it's so cheap. It's basically a direct API to those aggregators. It doesn't get messed up. The thing I would tell you about Moz and Yext, 2 things. You are renting the listing. You are paying for it for as long as you pay them. When you stop paying them, it's not going to be taken care of. But there are some big advantages to it. So I really like it for somebody who is just starting out potentially, who's going to move. If you know you're about to move, if you think, hey, I'm starting now, but I have a partner, I'm going to bring them on and change the name of the firm. Every time you make a change, you need to update those directories. And by doing it through a Yext, literally a couple clicks in their interface and boom, it's taken care of. That's a huge deal compared to the time if you're doing it yourself, or one of the ones we're going to talk about in a minute, where you have to go back and manually do everything.
So let me ask you this question. Okay, I've been in my building now for over a decade, but we're anticipating buying a building next year. We have an idea of where we're going to go, and so 6 months, 9 months from now, we're going to be changing. I've never signed up for one of these services. Is now a good time to sign up for, say, Moz, get them to confirm everything so that 6 months from now, when I do have to make that change, I can have them do it and not have to worry about it? Would that be a good tactic to use?
Yes and no. Let's talk. You are a special case.
Well, I'm just saying, just generally.
Generally, I would say it's an entry point for everybody. If you're not doing it, you should be doing it, with the exception if we get to these next 2 softwares after. There are a few others out there, but the idea being these are easy turnkey softwares. The 2 pieces of warning, one I mentioned is that you're renting it. Yext has suppression technology, so it suppresses bad listings, and the moment you stop paying them, that disappears. But the other piece that I think is significant is that when you do them, some of the main places you may care about, like a Yelp, there are a handful, I think about a dozen, maybe 10 to a dozen, where they may submit to those places, but you need to go by hand and take care of those yourself, or potentially pay an up fee for those to be done. And make sure that you're not forgetting about those, because those are some of the most powerful places. Gotcha. So again, for somebody who's doing nothing, Moz and Yext, absolutely. Moz being the cheapest, easiest entry, Yext being one step further along. The 2 softwares that come after that, sort of in that sort of continuum, Bright Local and White Spark.
Okay.
Those, instead of using a rented policy, there you're actually paying to have the citations built. So the good thing is, you're sort of like, instead of you're buying an office next year, you're buying your citations. So you own them. So the good news is that you don't have to keep paying for an annual subscription to keep them live. At the same time, if you do move, if you do get a new partner, if you change your phone number, you now need to either go in manually and change them or pay for a new listing. And so it is where to me, a large percentage of the calculus is where you are as far as your stability. Maybe you move next year. Yeah, you're going to go to, my guess is, a Bright Local or White Spark and pay for new ones, or pay them to update your existing ones. But for somebody who is in that earlier phase, a lot of people in their first 5 years of practice may move 5 times. That is a huge headache. And unless you're playing the higher level SEO, the Yext can be perfectly fine to begin with. As you start playing for the angles, some of the, I like to get away from the suppression services. And I think there's some SEO benefits to getting the ones that are done manually for you.
Okay, so I can give you a little bit of my experience with it. I have a Moz account that I set up a couple of years ago after I watched Rand before he left Moz at a seminar. So I set that up. I was a customer of Yext for a long time, and Yext got really expensive because I had a number of office locations, so I was paying, a couple $1,000s a year to Yext. And one of the things that jumped out at me was a blog that I wrote, and I'll try to find the link, and I'll put it down in the comments if I find the link. Was that Yext put you on a lot of directories, but a lot of the directories that they put you on your pages weren't indexed by any search engine, especially not by Google. Now, one of the things that the people suggested in this blog was that you actually take your listings that you have on all of these directories, drop them onto a page on your website saying, we could be found in the following directories, and put those links there so that when Google indexes you, they find those links, because Google's not going to index, Yext with every link, every directory that's out there. But I just wanted to put that out there. But I'm actually now a White Smart
we were
customer.
playing that game. You could have overseas labor go and click through for things. By the time you're getting to that level, and I think you sort of proved my point, as you progress, you will outgrow them. You could outgrow a Yext, and that's when you go and decide, hey, I'm going to do it myself. I'm going to use one of these other tools that are out there in order to create the citations in a way that is most SEO friendly.
And so what we did actually is when we launched our new licensed lawyer site, we actually decided to go with WhiteSpark and have them build our directory listings for that brand to see how they did, instead of just dumping it on Yext or dumping it on Moz, because we were running into the issue of having two brands at the same address except for a suite number, and we wanted somebody to manually do it. So that's certainly something that people need to consider.
Right, and Bright Local, we love it. Gives some extra flexibility, reporting. Again, they're all awesome tools. Figure out what the needs you have are. But it's funny, I've had this conversation with some of my favorite SEOs at, when I was at a PubCon. It is definitely a process that people have generally, evolved through. And there's a place for each one of them depending on where you are on that spectrum.
Absolutely. Okay, so now I've got to give you a couple of different software pieces that you can use, because I've got a number of hacks here. So I'm going to give you two right now before we throw it back to Seth. Seth has talked about the importance of adding pictures to your Google My Business listing, because Google likes seeing you upload pictures regularly. And they want you to have pictures that are relevant to your practice or relevant to your business. And in your case, it's a practice. And automating that process really became kind of difficult for me, because I would never remember. It was on these things, a million things I needed to accomplish in a week. And so what I found, and we can go back, if you want to go back to some of our episodes in April and May, when I'm lamenting the problem that I was having with my GMB profile for one of my brands, I found a consultant who was going to help me get restored. And one of his products that he offers is this thing called Local Pix. So I'll put the down below. I'll make sure that you guys have the URL for it. But essentially what it does is you sign up for this service, and I want to say it was $8 a month or something like that. So it's not expensive. And then it is an automated message to you where every 5, 6, 7, 8 days, depending on how many you select, it will send you a text message saying, hey, don't forget it's time to upload a picture to your GMB. Respond with a picture and we'll post it for you. And so it's just reminding you to do it. You grab one of the pictures that you have off of your phone, you respond to it, and boom, they place the picture for you. So it's a way for you to sort of remind yourself to post pictures to your Google My Business profile, and it allows you to sort of take the thought out of it. And that's
which I get. Look, and part of our job here is to sort of push back. To me, there are ones that are like, wow, that's a game changer. To me, put a freaking Google, a calendar alert, and theoretically, you shouldn't be doing it, Jay. I know you love doing this stuff, but this is one where the marketing assistant should be doing this in a perfect world.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. My whole thing is calendars can get missed. Emails, reminders get missed. 95% of text messages are opened within 3 minutes.
Absolutely.
And so I am moving everything I can to be a text message based reminder, because I find that gets me to take action on something, or my team actually to take action on something that's a lot faster than expecting somebody to check their email and remember to do it.
Well, then I got a question for you as Mr. Systems. Is there any way to set on your Google Calendar to have the appointment reminder come as a text rather than as an email?
That's a good question. I've never investigated that. I'm in
check it
the
out.
middle of right now of making my CRM sync up with Google Calendar and having multiple calendars. I'm in the process of getting that all set up, so I'll look into that.
Listen to that, because to me, and again, taking nothing away from that software, if you're a guy who's on the move and you're like, hey, I'll take a picture of upload it today, maybe it works better. But to me, I'm always thinking about, hey, a lot of software sounds great. It's sort of like the buying of GoDaddy domains. Which ones are there? Because how important is that photo compared to other things? So when you're using it, your staff and you have so much attention that, if one of the things I don't like about Google is the posts, which you cannot get rid of the announcements of how many views you got in the post. They want those posts. They will continue to email you incessantly. It's almost impossible to turn those notifications off. And so the idea is prioritizing what are the things that will actually make you money versus, it'd be nice to have more photos, but if I upload 3 a month or 4 a month rather than on a weekly basis, is it better? Yeah, it's better to do it on a weekly basis, but where do you want to put the prioritization of stopping what you're doing to post something?
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to, what you prefer. For me, this weekend, I was at the ballpark. I got the text message. I happened to be on a field where I have a banner for my law office. Took a picture of the banner, set it up. Didn't have to think about it any much more than that. So that's how it worked. It was just,
but it's taking your time and attention, and that's always the pull and tug, which is we can do it ourselves, but until somebody else is doing it, it's not a Jay Ruane system. It's Jay Ruane's life.
Right. Well, that's true. Okay, so here's another piece of software that I use, and I actually used it today, and it's software called SideMail. And SideMail is really interesting because it allows you to validate your domain and set it up without having to set up mail servers with Google Apps for Business or with Rackspace or something like that. So say you own a domain, you're putting up a website, and you want to have, newsletter at Atlanta Divorce Firm or newsletter at ColoradoSpringsDUI.com. And that's not your main site. It's like a landing page site or something like that. But you need to you want to give people the impression that site, it's not going to be you at your Gmail address or you at a Yahoo or AOL address. Or
Ruane.
Or Ruane, right? So like for me, right, we have a Mr. Pardons, which is one of our brands, Mr. Speeding Ticket. I've got the licensed lawyers. I've got a whole bunch of sub-brands. And when we send out our newsletters, we don't want necessarily the newsletter to come from at Ruane Attorneys. We want it to come from at Mr. Speeding Ticket. And so in services like MailChimp or Constant Contact, you have to validate your domain. SideMail, for under $100 a year, allows us to send email as that domain. It basically acts as a pass-through. So I'm able to validate a single domain name's email address. I can do multiple ones as well. That's one of the benefits of SideMail. So I can have a custom at the customvanityurl.com email address for as many websites as I have up there without having to go through the added expense of setting up Google Apps or Rackspace or whatever it is to actually have an email box, because all it is it passes through the email to whatever destination email address that you want, and you can send as that email as well.
So, question, like with a GoDaddy, you might get info at just thrown in.
Right.
So this is like if you want to do more, if you want to have
right, if you want to do more. So I have like leads at or newsletter at.
You're using it, you don't want to go through the whole $5 a month per setting it up with Google Apps.
Right, because I'm not going to be using. It's really just a pass through that's going to wind up. It's an alias, right? But right. I need to validate it with the the email program. So I use SideMail to do that.
And one benefit, which I'm not sure you thought of, because you have people who have opted in for your lists, but there's an issue. If you get too many people marking you as spam, they can blacklist your URL. I wonder if this is a way to sort of diversify it so that if you're sending something more risky, you could send it from a different domain than Ruane Attorneys. You would hate to see one of these get blacklisted, but it's better than your main, FU domain.
Absolutely. So that's one of the reasons why we do it. In fact, we're going to be doing an announcement in 10 days or so, and it's going out to 6,500 lawyers that have opted into another mailing list of ours. but they're not on this topic, but we're going to take a shot at it. And if they mark this as spam, it's not the end of my world.
Gotcha.
So that's a thing. Now I want to talk. You had another one, so let's talk about that
Sure,
one. Because
I'll conclude with my final one is just a tool that we love around the office for sort of local search, right? We want to know where we are. Like, are you in the 3-pack? Aren't you? And it's very frustrating because you may be sitting at your house and you may do great there in your office, but then what's going on 2 miles away? And so Local Falcon is a tool that essentially allows you to look at an entire jurisdiction with boxes showing, finite geography that will allow you to see how you are showing theoretically in the 3-pack or what your local search is in each of those sub listings geographically. And you'll see that generally, if you're doing your job right, your best results are right at the epicenter of where you are. And as those boxes move away from your epicenter, you're generally doing less well. And so it's fascinating to see where a competitor that might be on the other side of town starts to bump into you as you do it. And while it's not 100%, let's say it's 75%. So don't wig out, based on the results. You got to, double check it. But the idea gives you a good sense as to trends, what's happening. Are you doing well? Are you not doing well? Very broad strokes. We really enjoy using it. It's very addictive.
It is addictive. You can get down a rabbit hole really, really quickly on that. The thing about Local Falcon is that you buy credits. So it's not like it's not like a monthly service you have to pay for monthly. You just buy a ton of credits and then use them as you go. But you wind up using a lot that first day because you're doing it. Interesting thing about it is that we actually discovered a competitor who had clearly opted into using a new SEO provider and stuff because we saw them pop up as we ran Local Falcon, and then their presence started to grow larger. And so we were able to sort of track their growth digitally as they started to compete with us in a market because we saw them pop up on Local Falcon. I don't know if I would have found them as a competitor looking for them to take away market share if I had not had that.
If your head's in the sand, you're just looking in your immediate place. You don't see what's going on further out from your epicenter.
Exactly.
Absolutely. The thing that we like it for, and it'd be an entire another episode, is spam, local spam. So what we'll see is as we look at it, we're sort of seeing what's all out there. There are a lot of people, some are overseas bots, some of them are local, who are placing exact match names into the 3-pack, and Google has not figured out how to make that a non-ranking factor. Spam still works in the local 3-pack, and so that it's a cat and mouse game where if you're trying to protect your territory and somebody keeps putting spam there, you're constantly sort of signaling to Google, hey, this is not a real firm, or hey, this is not the real name of the firm. It gives you a sense as to what's out there, who's infringing upon your territory.
Yeah, I really like that. That's great. Okay, so I've got 2 more that I want to talk about, and then when we get done with these 2, we're going to take a quick break, and then Ryan's going to come back with another great book review. But the 2 that I want to talk about is one that I've been talking about for over a year. If you are friends with me on Facebook and you're watching this, you probably recognize that I send out birthday greetings to basically everybody. And I'd like to say that I do it because I get up every morning and I'm hard at work typing away saying happy birthday to people. But I found Birthday Bud, and for $30, it has changed my engagement with people on their birthdays. I always felt bad when I would miss somebody's birthday, but Birthday Bud is a great software that you can set up both with Facebook and with LinkedIn, and it allows you to upload a picture, upload an image that says happy birthday, send a customized message to people on their birthday, and that way you never forget to wish somebody a happy birthday. And if you're like me, you have a lot of friends that refer you business over the course of a year, and so being able to pop up in their feed, say happy birthday, you get the thank you from them most of the time. It reminds them that you exist, and it gives you an opportunity to grow your firm by way of referrals, because all those people are, hey, if nothing else, he wished me happy birthday.
Are you able to personalize the message? Can you look at
You
the
can.
month and sort of say, add an extra note for somebody you want a specific message to?
Well, you can personalize it as far as adding their name to the message if you want to. You're allowed up to 3 messages. You can't say, "Hey, I saw you in August. Happy birthday."
It's for a cool graphic or GIF
Right,
or what
right.
have
If you notice, Tyson Mutrix, I turned him onto it about a year ago,
Yeah.
and he has the office graphics that he does with his happy birthday things, which are really kind of cool. I actually had our photographer in last November, and I took a picture with a cake, with a confetti champagne bottle, and with a noisemaker, and I put those things out there, and I get all sorts of comments on it. So it's a lot of fun.
One I'll give you a morbid thought, but I'm sure you've had to address it, which is there are a number of people on Facebook that have now passed away.
Yes.
Where the families just leave them up. Do you go through and edit to make sure that you're not wishing somebody who's passed a happy birthday?
Yes, they actually have a do not message list that you can add people to that list so that they don't get those messages. And it's effective because I had some people who passed away this year, and it's one of the things I do is I went in and I made sure that they were on the do not message list, and their birthday came and went with no message from me. So that does work. And then the last thing that I want to talk about is something that we've actually used recently is a product called Link Whisper. And I don't know if you've used Link Whisper in your practice, but Link Whisper allowed us to actually find internal linking issues that we were looking for. We had a number of posts on one of our websites. We probably had 80 or 90 pages that had no internal or external links on them. It was just content. So they had maybe one link.
Were they sidebar or nothing?
They had a sidebar, yeah, but it was just we're talking 1,000 words about a particular topic and no internal link in that copy, and so
this is your checks and balances.
And this is my checks and balances. So Link Whisper basically crawls your site. Indexes your site and allows it to know, okay, you have this page. I'll give you an example from one of my traffic sites. You have a page about passing a school bus, right? And then you've got passing a school bus mentioned on a number of other pages. So now we're going to artificially create that link with just a couple of clicks because those pages should be linked to one another. Perhaps I have a page about points and there's a mention of you get 5 points if you get caught passing a school bus. That page should link to the other one. It's not perfect, but it does a lot of the heavy lifting and the interface is rather easy. So you can identify the things that the algorithm got wrong or the algorithm got right, and you can change up some of the text very easily. And it was a flat fee for a website. And it was inexpensive. I forget what the price was, but Link Whisper was what we used, and we added like 500 internal links to one of our traffic ticket sites in an afternoon.
Right, and look, and like anything else, there are things. How do I put this? That while I love it for like a blog concept, the thing to be careful about is that like anything else, there's suggestions. So if you believe that more the better, great. But if you're siloing content and you want Google to see stuff within a defined silo, that's where it's almost like the difference between a Yext that does it automated and then the next step. I love the idea. It's better than not having internal links at all, but I also want people to sort of think, hey, is there a defined structure? And if you are using a tool like this, making sure that you're not working at cross purposes to what your bigger structural goals are.
And so let me follow up with that. So we deployed it on our verticals that are focused on one particular area. So speeding tickets, pardons, lady DUI. I did not deploy it on Ruane Attorneys, which is my main site with 5,000 pages. That stuff we're doing the internal linking manually because we don't want to run into problems where we're linking cross silo. That's an issue. And so
basically, when you're throwing the kitchen sink at it, it's going to give you suggestions because, frankly, and from a cost-benefit point of view, you may not put the resources towards internal linking, which is why it said to you, "Hey, dude, you're not internal linking. Great, we can put a bunch. It shows some velocity, and when you're not siloing, it doesn't really matter."
Absolutely. So that's a lot, man. We've got 4 directory things that people can look at. We've got Local Falcon. We've got the local picks, side mail, B-Day Bud, Birthday Bud, Link Whisper. We've got a lot of software out there, and this is what we wanted to talk about last Thursday. There's a lot of good hacks out there. There's a lot of good products that you can use, but you need to know which ones are real and which ones, could give you a false sense of security, perhaps. And also things that, you may not know about just yet.